What is up, everybody? What is up, everyone? LSU Odyssey live here on a crazy Saturday of March Madness. The NCAA tournament is well underway. It has been wild. It has been mad. It has been crazy, as we always expect. Tons of upsets, tons of great games. I don't know how people are doing with their brackets or anything like that. I've been a little out of the loop with that, been more dialed into creating the spring content as well for LSU, as well as being sick as hell. That's for sure. But hopefully we're out of the woods here. We're gonna have to take these really severe cough drops and drink a steady amount of water here to keep us hydrated, to keep us going, keep our throat moist. No connotations there. No weird connotations there. But I wish the last show could have gone on further because I felt like that was really the rich vein of territory I want to talk about when it comes to this LSU football team, this LSU spring that we're about to embark on, where first time with Kiffin, but a lot of returning guys mixed with you've got like the guys who are returning are guys that you remember you remember for the last few years. Whit Weeks, Davon Keys, Dominic McKinley, TaMarcus Cooley last year, a transfer that's returning, DJ Pickett, and then of course PJ Woodland entering his third year. Like there's guys on this team that you remember as cornerstones. Braylon Moore, a transfer that's coming back for his second year. There's cornerstones that have returned. That's the big deal. That's the good thing here. But you add to it a plethora. I mean, a cavalcade, litany, a long, treacherous even list of new transfers. And then also, you have something like 70 odd staffers on this football staff. Like you have just sheer personnel. So many different coaches, so many different support staffers, so many different analysts, and just even behind the scenes. And then you have a very collaborative effort as far as the main coaching staff. When you look at, like, say, an area like defensive line, where for just an example, you have Sterling Lucas, you have Kevin Peoples, and you have Blake Baker as the defensive coordinator overseeing it. But there's going to be a collaborative effort between those two at least. And then you have other defensive lines, kind of specialists and analysts in and around who are going to also be in those rooms making those calls. So my point of referencing all of this is just to say that this LSU 2026 team is very interesting for so many different reasons. And it's not just what you would expect. It's not just this is the exact reason why, because it's Kiffin, his first year, but it's like a whole new way of doing certain things for this team as far as what we've seen from the last few years. However, it reminds me a little of the 2019 staff and how endless that 2019 staff seemed to be. And it seemed like, for Coach O haters, that offseason leading into 2019, I know people who are diehard LSU will remember this. Leading into that 2019 season, what was the narrative about Coach O and from like his haters? The narrative was, man, he's high, they sucked in 2018 when it mattered, so he's hiring everyone and anyone under the sun. He's just hiring everyone to just like hide his own deficiencies. That was the narrative. It was a loud and clear narrative that Orgeron is hiding his deficiencies by hiring all these, specialist coaches. George Munoz, Joe Brady, of course. There's just so many different hands in the pot, right? But if they can work together, if you can find some type of chemistry on these staffs working, the staff within the staff, really, the backroom guys that can handle the extra load, the extra work, and it keeps your main staff fresher. And I think that's smart. It keeps your main staff from getting overstressed within the first year of being at LSU, a place with high demand, high pressure. The workload gets spread around, but you're also getting fresh ideas from just inviting more, people to the table, more voices, more wisdom to the table, because you got a lot of wisdom there with some of these coaches. There's some big time power hitting coaches all over this staff that just really, I'm not saying that this is the greatest LSU staff of all time. I'm not saying that this is the perfect staff, but what I do think is this is a staff that just on paper looks like they can complement each other well. And that might be all they need to do to have a successful season. Now, can Lane Kiffin be able to get that from his staff? Generate that from his staff? Well, I know he has we don't know for sure, but we know he has a damn good chance of doing it in comparison to, say, Brian Kelly, who, I mean, at every turn we saw him reward coaches who should have been fired, keep coaches who should have been fired, give more decision-making powers to coaches who should have been just not even hired in the first place. And you just wondered how overstressed, how crazed, and how kind of like out of their element were some of those coaches during the Brian Kelly era. And I think a lot of them were. It's quite evident. So you take that element out of the picture here, and you have a staff that's maybe more fresh. Maybe as that workload gets spread around, that has more of a chance of being successful. And then you look at Kiffin's track record, his history of what his staff is able to accomplish. You look at the guys that are on the staff. I mean, Blake Baker with this defense. Every year he improves a defense that he's coaching, whether that's at Missouri, whether that's at LSU. Markedly improves. So another jump. Well, here's the thing. If Kiffin's offense can deliver in any way, shape, or form, just anything, even like average, like one of Kiffin's worst offensive seasons on record, then this defense really has a strong chance of being a brilliant complementary defense as well. And LSU has a strong capability of having a really good season here through a really perilous schedule too. But to make that happen, you need these 5 things that we're going to go through. These 5 exciting or concerning factors ahead of this 2026 LSU spring camp. For me, I'm looking across this whole landscape at LSU football. I'm looking at what we have on tap for this roster. And we've gone through a lot of the roster. I would say the majority, the meat of the roster, we've gone through and detailed and really hammered home as much as you can pre-spring. However, there are actually a lot of guys kind of going under the radar that could really surprise us. For instance, Cephalin Green at defensive tackle had a really good game against LSU actually last year. And when I was looking at how he did on Pro Football Focus in comparison, you load up Pro Football Focus to look at the player grades, and you go, Clemson 2025, and man, his snap count, it wasn't as much as, of course, some of these big stars like Peter Woods, but it was close. It was close. It may have been like matching some of his output statistically. So, and he had 6 tackles and I think maybe a tackle for loss against LSU in that LSU 17-10 LSU victory. Big meaty defensive tackle. Love what we're seeing from him. But then Brandon Brown, another guy that's kind of just like under the radar. We got so many different Browns on this team. There's Trey Brown at receiver. There's Jalen Brown at defensive end. Jace Brown at receiver as well. Like there's like 5 Brandon Brown defensive. There's like 7 different players named Brown. Well, Lamar Brown as well. There's like 7 Browns. Um, it gets a little confusing after a while, but hilarious as well. I mean, a lot of these players stick out, so it's not hard to. It's not like you're, oh, which Brown is it? Not like you're confused, but it's kind of like, good Lord, how many of these players are named the same? Um, for me, the 5th thing I really am looking at entering this 2026 season, who will play star in Blake Baker's defense? Now, a lot of people are saying that's going to be Deshaun Spears. That could be Ty Benefield, potentially. Maybe even rumors of Davon Keys playing there. I think what they're going to do with Davon Keys is have him at Mike. And I've got a good source on that information that Davon Keys will play Mike linebacker. And then you, of course, have Whit Weeks doing what he does best from the will position, able to pressure the quarterback. And then do you have a third linebacker on the field in TJ Daughtery? Or do you have Ty Benefield at star, Tamarcus Cooley, Deshaun Spears at safeties? Or is it Deshaun Spears at star, and then Ty Benefield and Tamarcus Cooley back at safety? I mean, it's a very good problem to have when you have a guy like Ty Benefield. 107 tackles last year, 8 TFLs, 8.5 TFLs the year before, 16.5 TFLs combined the last 2 years from the safety position. Freakish. 2 interceptions, but 5 interceptions over the last 2 years at Boise State. I can't remember exactly how many pass breakups, but it was in the teens. Racked them up. So Ty Benefield, very effective against the passing, against any opposing passing game. We haven't seen him in the SEC, right? Of course. But I think he, you're going to be better served using a more physical specimen defensive back, athletic defensive back, who's still powerful enough to make some of these hard open space tackles on some of these robust running back receiving athletes, tight ends, That's a guy like AJ Halsey. Maybe he could have been effective as a star, within the Blake Baker defense last year. Maybe that would have made the defense better because he was mostly making the plays that the star should have made, but like 15 yards down the field because that's where he was at safety. So you move Ty Benefield to star. Interesting. Could that happen? Or is it Deshaun Spears that's going to be the guy that goes into that role? Because Deshaun Spears, I mean, he's just a fantastic tackling safety as well. Just really good tackling. His one of his first plays ever, he has a horrible whiff on the game-winning touchdown against USC. Just thrown into the game due to injury. Just thrown into there. And bad whiff, guy scores, game over. USC wins. And then he rebounds and has one hell of a sophomore year. Even while playing, like barely playing, he's like either LSU's number one or number two, just back and forth, number one or number two, back and forth. Highly rated LSU defender on Pro Football Focus. Just incredible, just incredible. 2 interceptions against Florida, DJ Lagway, all that stuff. We know what Deshaun Spears can produce and what he can provide. And so, interesting to see if he or Ty Benefield takes that position at star, or could it be somebody else? Is it TJ Daughtery who's potentially going to be at that position? Because, I mean, there's a few different guys who could play that spot. You could literally have a rotation at star, potentially. Like different packages, you have different star in there. I don't know. Maybe that's a little too confusing. It could work. But that's a position that is so key to me to making this defense work. I think everything else kind of slots itself in except for the defensive line interior. That's a spot that we still need to really hope finds its way. And we'll get into that in a bit. Number 4. Sorry, gotta have a cough drop here. My throat is getting its ass kicked already, guys. How long will it take for this team to gel? Now, is this going to be a team that it takes game 3 or 4 to gel? Because here's the thing, if that happens, talking about maybe losing 1, maybe even 2 of those first 3 games. You're playing right out of the gate Clemson, you're playing Ole Miss, and then I believe A&M. Like, it's a brutal schedule. And so you have to start strong here. You have to start strong with this team, or you're going to face the gauntlet and the meat of the season potentially with carrying already 2 losses and like knowing 1 more and you're basically done. So it's very imperative that Kiffin gets this team to gel. How can Lane Kiffin get this team to gel when you're it's a lot of returning guys who are also going to be competing against these transfer guys in a lot of these spots, but it's like you also got to be tight with them because you want, collective, everyone wants the team to succeed, but it's like the competition will at times kind of override that and things will get intense. Will what will prevail in that setting in year 1 for Lane Kiffin and company? What will prevail? Will this team be able to gel when you're talking about bringing a ton of new guys and a ton of new guys who are directly battling for others' positions? I mean, from the offensive line to running back to linebacker, safety. there's a lot of different jobs on this team that are up for direct grabs, and a lot of different kind of key personnel here that I have a feeling that this actually, whether it helps the team gel before the season or mid-season, I think it's at least going to improve the talent and the depth of this team, the fight of this team, by showing them having, everybody having to really prove their best every single play, or you're just not going to play. There is a feeling that you've been able to wipe the slate clean of all the political bullshit of years past, and the certified starters, and this guy has to start, this guy's the veteran, the veteran leadership, all that BS. Now there's no real hierarchy outside of maybe the quarterback Sam Levitt and some of these obvious names. Whit Weeks being a team leader, a team captain, like duh. And everyone's going to kind of fall in line and respect those guys. But there's also a sense of the slate being wiped clean. And so there's every chance for you to see the best out of guys, to see the best competition throughout spring and fall camp. Don't be afraid if you see hard hitting, dangerous play, a few injuries here or there. If this team is not really practicing hard, it's not gonna. None of those things will happen. And what could we say about Brian Kelly's teams of the last few years? They didn't consistently practice hard. They consistently had these crisp, organized practices, but it was just kind of a presentation of fluff. There was never hard hitting. There was never guys learning how to actually create turnovers, like stripping the ball out, stuff like that. We finally saw Lance Guidry kind of showing some of that to the safeties last year. That's why there was improved turnover total there. Not the only reason, of course, I'm saying, combined just with having better, just upgrading talent. But I have a feeling that you have a team where you've been able to wipe the slate clean. You have new leadership and old existing leadership that you wanted desperately to stick around. And everyone knows that they're LSU pillars. Guys like a Whit Weeks, guys like, even Braylon Moore. We desperately need him at center. Desperately. Or Dominic McKinley entering year 3. We got to see it from him. And then PJ Woodland entering year 3. Got, really thrown into the fire in year 2 and responded. And I think he's going to be due for a really strong year 3. Deshaun Spears as well. Gabe Relaford coming off a broken arm. And I'm looking at this defensive setup too. And I think this defense has a lot better chance of gelling quicker than this offense. And that's, literally saying that, like, hey, Lane Kiffin usually has his offenses firing on all cylinders, or at least close to it. So even if they don't have the chemistry, they're still going to be producing yards and points and still cashing in on big plays. Now, if you can have this defense not take a step back, but maybe even take a step forward this year, say maybe you allow 4 more points per game on average this season. Okay. But say you're going to create more turnovers this year. Say you're going to get more sacks than just 14.5 from your defensive line last season. Just 27 sacks from your defensive line in total last year. That was 5 fewer than Matt House's worst of all time defense. That's a stat that we came up with, that we've discovered ourselves, that is just mind-blowing to me. 14 and a half sacks from your edge rushers and your defensive linemen combined. We combined them into one. And then 27 total from your defense. God awful. If you can produce more pass rushing displays, finishing in the backfield, put up a ton of pressures last year, could not finish worth a shit. He had 44 pressures. 40 freaking 4 pressures in one game. 44 pressures against Lenora Sellers. And only had him down sacked 5 times. 44 pressures. You should have killed that man, technically. like 44 pressures. Like, how did he survive the game? That's because LSU's defensive line could not finish a sack. We're finishing worse than Peter North at the end of his career. Some sick fuckers will probably know what that joke means. But say this offense starts slow, and this defense has to lead the way the first few games, just like we saw last year. With an actual help, seemingly, hopefully, Sam Levitt will continue to get healthy, which we'll discuss as well later. With a healthy quarterback, and then a plethora of weapons at receiver, and then at running back, Lane Kiffin has never had a rushing game outside of number 35, number 36 ranked in the nation. And then you have an offensive line that just can't get any worse than last year, right? It just can't get any worse. So all of those elements combined for an offense that, even at its worst, I think this is an offense that is going to at least be able to either rack up the points or possess the football and wear down opponents. One of the two. And LSU's offenses could do neither last year. And their defense desperately needed it. And I think Kiffin this season, you're going to see just how invested he is in the running game. And I think that's going to spark everything from there. And that is why it is very imperative that we get Sam Levitt to a healthy place here. But we'll discuss that in a second. Number 3, making sense of George McDonald's wide receiving room. Okay, you've got so many different receivers, guys. You have so many different receivers that you brought in. So many different ones. And there's plenty that have caught my eye. But I think Trey Brown, I think he might be one of the best. This dude is someone that LSU haven't had in the last few years. LSU haven't had a go up and get it guy. Oh, shit. I still got that layout over it. LSU have not had a go up and get it guy. Okay, LSU have not had a guy that can just out physical and dominate you into, literally rupture you in the paint. Terminate you into sand. And Trey Brown, he proved that he can do that, at Old Dominion. Incredible season at Old Dominion. Averaged over 21 yards per catch. Now, if he can even produce half of that at LSU, we have an explosive weapon. Imagine if you had given the defense last year that LSU had a receiving weapon that could do that without a Scottie Pippen ad to interrupt my show. How dare you, Scotty? And then I love how it's got my man Josh Payton, LSU winning all. That's interesting. I won't check that out. See, like this Trey Brown, he's really an all arounder, everything you want him to be as a receiver. The frame, the measurables aren't exactly like the most dominant. Like we're not talking Jamar Chase, absolute monster, but still extremely impressive specimen that really caught my eye. And then, a dude who played at Ole Miss last year, Winnie Watkins. Winnie Watkins, man, I just there's something about him that makes me think that he could be really instrumental in this offense. Really instrumental in this offense. I don't know what it is about his abilities when he's got the football in his hands, but he's very slithery. He can absolutely break the tackles. Like, it's he's such a weapon that I think he's just even scratched the surface on becoming, because Ole Miss had a very deep stacked, receiving room. But notice he's the one guy George McDonald had to bring over from Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin had to have him. They bring him over from Ole Miss. And Winnie Watkins, man, I there's some things that he does with the football in his hands that we just got to show you. We just got to show you, because there's a lot of great players out there. And it's more about what I think it's more about what Winston Watkins could become more than like what he's already done, because he had like 300 yards or something last season. Like he didn't have much didn't have too many receiving yards. But the plays he made, man, just we'll check this out. That's one thing though, the balance, or is he avoiding a hit there? That was two in a row like that. But I like that right there. That's what that's what you never saw. It's criminal. It's criminal to me, guys. You never saw this in the Joe Sloan offense. Just throw it to Aaron Anderson over the middle. Just throw it to Kyron Lacy over the middle. Just call us a slant. Just call a little in route. Call a bump and go quick little slant. Just snap the football and just feed it to these guys over the middle. Test the corners, test the nickels, test the safeties, test the linebackers, test them all. Don't just test, the boundary corner who can maybe get your guy on an island and lock him down. But that's what I think. You've got so many weapons that you can unload this football to over the middle on this offense in this receiving core. You've got a plethora of heat-seeking missile weapons. Winnie Watkins is one. There's big time like possession receiver, earn those tough, hard-nosed third down kind of intangibles within him that I'm excited about. But this man also, who played it for another enemy, this guy This dude is a freak of nature, in my opinion. I think he could be the best of the bunch. This guy, I'm about to show you. Trey Brown is probably the most like athletically dominant potentially that you've got, but the most athletically like versatile and like truly break your team, break your like truly open and tear apart a defense. For me, Trey Wilson. This man, I mean, look right there across the formation, feed it to him, an easy 9 yards. And he takes those hits and just keeps going. There's a hard nosed play over the middle, hit, gets that first down. And this is within a shitty offense, within an injury ravaged team. Makes the catch and turn right there. Once again, you're seeing it again. These are guys you must feed over the middle and just really roast these defenses. Oh, look who they're playing against there. Who got beat on that play? That was Toviano. There's a touchdown there, back of the end zone against Mizzou. That's against the Blake Baker defense. Ooh. Mm. Oh, wait, no. No. That was Blake Baker's first year at LSU. Never mind. Take that back. Great catch there from Eugene Wilson. That's a hard-nosed play from a player you're expecting more finesse out of. Ooh, you expect this is one thing that you've got to hopefully he can take the next level on. You got to stay in bounds there. You got to stay in bounds there. I get it. The balance and stuff, but like it feels like he kind of gave up on that play. If you watch that again. Okay, once again across the formation. That's just easy. And guess what? Guess who that's against? And they completely are in the backfield watching for this while Wilson is like running across them. That was Mason Smith. That was Mason Smith who completely bit on that play. And number two, oh, that was oh my God, he was one of Kelly's favorites that Kelly brought over. What was his name? He was terrible. I can't remember his name right now, but he went to Texas and Notre Dame. He's bad. Just was way overhyped. Once again, across the formation, some shuttle screen, some jet sweep action. He's being used in these different ways, and that's what you're gonna see is Billy Glasscock is gonna be running an RPO offense, and within the RPO offense, you're gonna see plays like this, boom, as you should. We never saw that in Joe Sloan's offense. It's a joke. Everything was to the outside. When it's open to the outside, we'll take it like that. Touchdown, Eugene Wilson there. Once again, over the middle, catch, block. That's a great block right there. He takes 3 men out essentially, but gives him just that split second to get free. That's almost sexual in nature right there. That's almost titillating. I mean, when you watch football erotica like that, ugh. I mean, look at those guards, those tackles pulling out there. Those watch how this guy is this a tight end? Just see ya. Look what he did. Look what he did. He cast him into the never-ending flames of eternity. Look at this. Get now. Get thee hence. You've never been. Look at this right here. Just yeah. What in the King Herod did we just see? Wow, pass behind him and Trey Wilson adjusts. Beautiful catch. So, okay, as you can see, I am loving what we see from this receiving core. You've really got a lot of weapons, and it's going to be very interesting to see how Kiffin, Weiss, how they draw it up, how they play call it, how George McDonald's, who's also the passing game coordinator, how they set the tone for all of this, how they manage all of this, where they, who's going to take which role. Because that's the thing is, we're also not even talking about. We're also not even talking about Tradez freaking Green, who is just a monster, can tower above you, the Tower of Babel. Just an absolute sultan in the air. Now has what is it? 11 touchdowns? Yeah, 11 touchdowns, all in the red zone for LSU in 2 seasons, and you're gonna add him to these matchup nightmares all over the field. And we didn't even talk about one of our favorite guys in the receiving corps, Chase Brown, either. Just a fantastic player, fantastic player. So LSU, I mean, you make sense of this receiving corps. You find some defined roles for these guys that fit their skill sets, which I think, I mean, why wouldn't they be able to replicate what they did at Ole Miss? With a receiving corps that was nowhere near what it's going to be at LSU, even just this season. And then you also talk about a freshman like Jabari Mack and adding him into the mix here. You've brought in all of these guys, but then you also have Jabari Mack coming in as a recruit. I mean, and Jabari Mack, man, that's a dude who is going to be a superstar, whether it's at LSU or hopefully not elsewhere. You hold on to that dude because he's going to be a freak. Mark my words. Jabari Mack. Love the kid. He's just a great person as well, but like what he's done as a player is spooky. It's spooky. And I hope he gets opportunities. He's going to be a true freshman. Some of these guys have 3-4 years they've got under their belts. A lot of these receivers only just 2. Redshirt freshmen, stuff like that, redshirt sophomore seasons that they're entering. So you do have experience that he's going to contend with, but hopefully we see Jabari back at least get some plays in year 1. And if injuries happen, he's got to go up that rung because he's so good. He's so talented. But we're also Tradez Green too, added to this just litany of aerial assassin talent, an arsenal of aerial assassinry that you've had very talented receiving rooms that you just simply didn't take advantage of their skill sets over the last few years. People can mock the receiving corps of the last few years, and that's fine. But if you look at guys like Aaron Anderson, and it's like speedy, gonna make guys miss, like we just saw from like a Trey Wilson or a Winston Watkins. Okay, so you feed him over the middle, make guys miss into space. Joe Sloan would call up a 5-yard out route or some bullshit where he's having to get hit by 3 guys before the ball's even like coming to him. Like, I mean, how many hospital routes were thrown his way, Aaron Anderson? How many ridiculous hits did he take in traffic for the team over the last few years just simply because the play design put those receivers at risk. I don't expect that from Weiss and Kiffin. If it continues under Weiss and Kiffin, it would be stunning and shocking because their pedigree and their past doesn't support that they have poor play design or play calling. So we will see about that. 1 second. We have to actually get our charger cord. Holy crap. But we've talked about George McDonald's receiving core long enough. Number 2, the O-line, and by extension, the running game. Okay. This is going to be very interesting. Because there are a lot, I mean, it's going to be, as we wrote in our article, one battle after another for this offensive line, for these running back positions. And I think you're going to be surprised at who ends up in each spot. You've got a lot of different options for Eric Walford to call upon. You've got guys ranging from William Satterwhite to Devin Harper. And we all know that Devin Harper comes over from Ole Miss. And then we know Darren Stray was at Kentucky with Eric Walford. So you have a few guys who might have an in by being there with their former coaches. On the other side of the line, defensive line, you've got like Jaylen Brown was from, who has that history with Sterling Lucas from South Carolina. So like looking at that, you've got some relationships in the trenches that hopefully could work for the Tigers. Hopefully that helps that, Darren Stray at Kentucky looking to be the right tackle for LSU. Maybe he could be that guy, but then, Jamar Jones, am I getting that name right? I keep screwing this guy's name up. Jamar Jones. Yes. Out of Archbishop Rummel. That guy could also be in the mix there. And then you got William Satterwhite, who could really do something at guard. And he also has a backup at center. Can be backup at center. But it's all about the fact that LSU were able to secure Jordan Seaton to really. He's a proven secure blindside Great Wall of China. A great move for this offensive line, because here's the thing, you're going to need Sam Levitt to work into the running game this season with that injury. It's not just going to come to him immediately. He's got to work into this thing. And so he's got to have that confidence, knowing that blindside's, got some coverage there, some insurance, some life insurance. And with Jordan Seaton, the number 1 offensive line in the country, blocking for you, keeping that blind side there. That's gotta fill Levitt with a bit more zip and pep in his step, knowing, damn, okay, they're going after a lot of strong talents here in the offensive line room. But these offensive linemen, despite, high pedigree in high school or whatever, strong measurables, maybe what they look like on a transfer ranking rating or whatever, a lot of these guys don't have much on-field experience. William Satterwhite barely any experience. Darren Stray, like 4 games of experience. Devin Harper, same type of thing for Ole Miss. I don't think he even played a single game for Ole Miss. The list goes on and on. It's the guys we brought over at offensive line outside of Jordan Seaton don't really have much on-field experience. And so you're looking at anchors, Seaton and Braylon Moore. You guys have to Braylon Moore for certain because of his past injury troubles, but you've got to keep both of those guys healthy to maintain this offensive line. That's just number one. Like, number one, Jordan Seaton, Braylon Moore are our 2 identifiable anchors on this offensive line right now. If anyone in the comments section wants to submit any more offensive line guys that they think are like going to be fantastic for us and we don't need to worry about them and they're going to take over a starting spot, please, I'm all ears. Let me know. Because the interior of the offensive line worries me. The guards around Braylon Moore. That's a spot that worries me. Tackle, not so much. I think Darren Stray is going to be that right tackle. But is William Satterwhite capable of taking over left guard? Then right guard, who are you looking at? Solomon Thomas? Jamar Jones from Nicholls State? It's a very interesting... where the hell did my water go? There it is. It's a very interesting place. While being upgraded, this offensive line still feels foreign, alien, unfamiliar, you know? You wonder about this offensive line. Because while upgraded, you can't get worse than last year's offensive line. You can't get worse collectively. Those guys played for like a few years together, some of those guys. And so it's like, how did this happen in 2024 and 2025, such terrible offensive line play? And then Kentucky, Eric Walford arrives with some god-awful, ghastly offensive lines at Kentucky that I'm just sorry. Just because he's a new LSU coach, I'm not going to give him a pass. Those are god-awful offensive lines. And it was Kentucky fans that said, hey, Lon, that Eric Walford, the new offensive line coach, you just wrote an article about. And my article was just that we got him. It wasn't like, he's going to be the greatest offensive line coach we've ever seen. Like, since, he's going to invent the reincarnation of the 83 Washington Redskin Hogs or something. No, it was just, hey, breaking news. We got Eric Walford. It's going to be our new offensive line coach. That was basically what I wrote. And, man, the amount of Kentucky fans who said that's not a good thing for you, but a great thing for us. Thank you for taking him. And I'm like, what? Really? And they're like, guys, you're in for a really shitty coach. This is like a Cortez Hankton situation. I remember someone, a Kentucky fan, even saying that. And I'm like, you're aware of that situation? Well, okay, well. Where, we got Cortez Hankton, and there was a lot of buzz about him, and then we saw what happened. But different situation. Hankton had a title ring on his finger coming in, and a receiving core that had just destroyed Nick Saban's defensive backs on national television in a national title game. And no one had ever seen that. Cortez Hankton coming over. You think, wide receiver, you going to continue. He's got Booty, he's got Neighbors, he's got Besh, he's got all these guys, Brian Thomas Jr., Chris Hilton Jr. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. And, man, he barely maximized any of those guys. And it was only through the sake of, like, their own just push it to the limit abilities, specifically Malik becoming the all-time leading LSU receiver in Tigers history, and then Brian setting all sorts of records, getting close to setting all-time records in touchdowns for a season, with 17. Just a wild season from those guys, and great careers from those guys. And Kayshon Boutte had a wondrous freshman year, but we just never delivered. And just you're looking at wanting to find an offense that has an identity, that has a way forward, getting away from the disgusting debacle of 2024, 2025, and even 2022. Those offenses were hard to watch. 2021, oh my God, Liam Shanahan in 2021, like, whew. Max Johnson, I don't know how he survived that season, how many hits he took, like, holy crap. Just so bad, so bad. Couldn't run the ball either. And so, by extension of this offensive line, we've talked about how important the receiving core is. We've talked about how we think the passing game can be explosive. But the running game, to me, is where it's the axis of which this whole thing swings. And a guy that so many people have not talked about, and someone who I learned about, I knew about him already. I had done his some stuff about him. I had written some stuff about him, but the thing that I didn't know about was how, like, lauded this guy was in other circles, until my man AP said Dylan Jones from Wisconsin is going to be elite for this team. And I'm thinking more about Caden Durham, thinking more about Harlem Berry. But he's right. He's right. Dylan Jones is a freak, and he's going to be a powerful, powerful beast. And here's the thing, too. Harlem Berry's been hitting the weight room as well. And Harlem Berry is beefier, meatier, more athletically powerful than ever before, it looks, while still retaining that leaner look. It's not like when they gave Caleb Jackson the hellish order of gaining 40 pounds. Oh my God, basically ruined him as a running back with this enforced weight gain. Made no sense. And that's Dylan Jones. Let's see, taking hits down the red zone, getting in there, finishing the plays. Something LSU could not do, cannot do until we see it this season. To be honest with you, I got to see it for I believe it. Dylan Jones is that weapon. Dylan Jones is that weapon where a battering ram. Caden Durham is kind of the sleek, athletic, elusive, dual threat guy out of the backfield. Harlem Berry, almost like a sequel to Caden Durham. And then Dylan Jones, powerful, powerhouse, battering ram. And then, you also got Rashawn Guillory, who from Utah. You got some guys from some big-time schools who are kind of leftovers, from cast-offs from these schools, to come in and be like your depth at running back. I mean, the running back position looks fantastic from my perspective at LSU. It looks deep. It looks better than it's been in years, as long as you get the rotation right. And that's something that LSU, whoever the coach has been, has not been able to get right, is the rotation. How to use these running backs, how to maximize these running backs. We haven't seen a 1,000-yard back since Ty Davis Price just took the season over in the second half of the 2021 season and just went off against everybody. Had that record-breaking game against Florida, set the all-time single game record, rushing record for LSU. And we haven't seen a single 1,000-yard season for an LSU rusher since then. Caden Durham came close last year. Or sorry, not last year, 2 years ago as a freshman. But this offensive line is so key right now. This offensive line is what everything hinges on, the running game as well. Protecting Sam Levitt, keeping him healthy, everything about this offensive line and turning the page from the disgusting displays we've seen for the last since 2019. Really. Every season since 2019 has been ghastly, offensive line wise. Just horrendous. And so O-line, and then by extension, the running game, has to be a major concern, but also could be a potential excitement. And then number one, without fail, without any reservation, has to be health of Sam Levitt, and how much is he going to participate in spring? That has to be number one. Because when you're looking at what he can do as a quarterback, when you're looking at what he can do as a dual threat weapon, it is absolutely special. It is blindingly brilliant. It is something that is unlike what you've ever seen. I feel so bad. Chelsea did not have her keys. I locked them out, but at least they were only locked out for like a minute, but I felt bad. Um, Seiji's all crying because he's like, "What's going on here?" I feel bad. But Sam Levitt, not a dual threat quarterback unlike anything you've ever seen. I'm meaning more unlike anything you've ever seen from a white boy. And that's what I love to see, is that this is a white boy doing this. I hate to bring race into it, I'm not trying to do that, but it's really usually you're thinking pocket passer, blah 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 blah. He looks, I mean, ooh, Jaden Daniels vibes from the same college as well. He's not as fast as Jaden Daniels, nowhere near, but damn does he still have the wheels. And hopefully that Liz Frank injury has not slowed him down any, because that would be a big hit. Paul Tarver says our offense has an embarrassment of riches to play with. Competition for playing time will be fierce starting Tuesday. Should be fun to see how it all plays out. Quarterback room will be awesome as well. Yeah, I mean, that's what we're also going to discuss here. Is it isn't just about Sam Levitt, but Sam Levitt, number one ranked quarterback. You see what he can become. You see what is possible. Look at that deep ball. Boom. And we know he's going to be in the 7-on-7. He's going to be doing that. He's not going to be running with the first team, all that stuff, traditional reps. He is just going to be doing 7-on-7. But he's been on the bike. We've seen him like on the bike, like working his ass off. You can see he's kind of grimacing through the pain. He's going through it right now. but he's in that recovery stage. He's not going through rehab type of stuff. He's in the recovery phase. So all these things are looking good here, baby. You just got to get him through spring healthy, and the fact that he's actually going to play in 7-on-7 kind of shows that. You know, Sam Levitt hasn't really been too limited. He's been in and around everybody. He hasn't really been in the shadows, like going through the grueling rehab. Like I said, he's been in the recovery phase. Yes, Paul Tarver. Paul says, I've heard Sam may be slightly ahead of schedule in hitting the weight room. That's along the lines of what I've heard too. It's about taking it lightly, taking it, pacing yourself, because man, we need him for week 1. We need him to gel with the offense, right? But we don't need them to push it. This is a team that can grow into the season as it goes on, right? We don't absolutely need them to put it all on the line in week 1 or 2 against Clemson and Louisiana Tech. I think we can get those wins. But you also got Houston Longstreet, who's a strong contender. Not for the starting spot, but at least to be, the fixed project of the future for LSU in the post Sam Levitt era. But you have 2 years of Sam Levitt if he stays. He's got the eligibility, two more years for eligibility for him. But also Houston Longstreet and then Landon Clark, who I really like what I've seen from him from Elon as your third string quarterback, most likely. They're going to be battling. And Houston Longstreet, he's going to get the first team reps with the offense. You saw him walking out with the offense in this video, with the team, I should say. You saw him leading the way with the team here. He's there in the the gold number 6. That's him right next to Trey Green. So you've got him already in this leadership position, in this leadership role. Longstreet knows he's going to be receiving the bulk of the first team snaps. He knows there's also, at the same time, very slim chance that he's going to be starting for LSU in 2026. But he seems not content with being like a backup project, but more like driven to be that quarterback of the future for LSU. So I love what I'm seeing from Houston Longstreet and from all of the quarterbacks. You just got to keep them healthy, just got to keep them safe, got to keep them fit and firing. And that's our 5 exciting or concerning factors ahead of 2026 LSU spring camp. I will also add, defensive line interior. You like Stephen Green, you like Brandon Brown, you like Dominic McKinley. It's just, how is this going to figure itself out? Is there enough depth there? Do you have enough quality depth there? That's the spot I worry about. And then offensive line interior. Do you have enough quality depth there as well? Those are 2 places where LSU's season could really hinge on those spots delivering or failing. At the same time, on paper, you've got to love what you see from this LSU season. It's looking promising. Everybody, Thank you so much for watching. I really want to thank everybody for supporting LSU Odyssey on its quest. This is our 3,000th episode, everybody. 3,000 episodes. And then who knows how many articles we've written. But this is our 3,000th episode of LSU Odyssey Live. It's been a crazy run. You can check out all 3,000 episodes on LSUODYSSEY.com, even the ones that YouTube removed, even the ones that were deleted from YouTube or banned from YouTube. They are there on LSUODYSSEY.com in their full glory. And we also got them all backed up too, just in case. So everybody, thank you so much for really believing in what we do, supporting what we do, and man, here's to another 3,000, another 3,000 more after that, another 3,000 more after that, because baby, we love the Tigers. Spring starts in just a few days, and we got the first practices of the Lane Kiffin era kicking off. It's about to get wild, everybody. Buckle up. You're going to have a feast of more content coming right at you on LSUODYSSEY.com over the next few days in the lead up. And when that day hits Tuesday, man, we're going to have a lot for you. A lot for you. It's going to be epic. So, everybody, thank you. Have a good night. Have a good weekend. And remember, as always, go Tigers, baby.